Welcome. I've been looking forward to this particular talk with you guys for a while because it seems like we've been getting more and more questions about AI, and I think it's just time we address it. And before I do, I just want to say that we all come to songwriting for different reasons, and we all have different skill sets. And some people want to just have fun writing lyrics. That's all that really matters to them. Other people like to play instruments. We all have different skill sets. So I'm not going to give the kind of talk where I go, okay, AI is bad or AI is good, because I think ultimately we all have to decide how we use tools. But just to give you a little bit of my own background, I started as a teenager, late teens in New York City. I was one of the first people to start using computers with MIDI keyboards, and drum machines and creating tracks on a computer. And I was fortunate, I got on a bunch of national TV ads with the songs I wrote and played all the tracks on. So I have always been at the forefront of technologies for music, from doing that with computers, later, a few years later, with digital recording, when Pro Tools and digital recording came along and we abandoned analog machines. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a machine called an ADAT, that was an 8-track recorder. Well, in my studio in New York, I had 10 of those stacked on top of each other, and had 80 tracks of recording. I was in heaven. But every step of the way, even when I moved to Nashville and had my first #1 song, we wrote that song to a drum loop. And no one in Nashville was writing songs to drum loops at that time. It was a song called Beautiful Mess. We didn't end up using a drum loop on the record, but in the writing room, we put on a drum loop and played along and sang along to that drum loop. So I've heard it all over the years. I've heard people's arguments when drum machines came out. Oh, this is going to put drummers out of work and no one's ever going to play drums again. But my buddy over at Drumeo has 10,000 drummers that are signed up to learn how to play drums with his site. And so I've heard all the naysayers saying AI is going to put songwriters out of business. Me personally, I think it might put some of the low-hanging fruit. If your goal is to get on some random TV show with music playing on the jukebox and that's your song, it might replace that, but I don't know, and I don't know if it's going to replace it for a while. But I could see if it was music that doesn't really matter, that maybe somebody might opt for a cheaper AI version. But I don't really see it putting songwriters out of business. And the reason is, I've said this before, I could see a robot on a golf course hitting a 50-yard putt every time, never miss. And at first you're going, oh, this is cool, but do I really want to watch a robot play golf? Do I want to watch 2 football teams out there playing? Do I want to watch ballet dancers that are robots dancing around on a stage, even if they looked human? Like, I think after a point, it's like, well, what's the point of this? And so I think we have to go deep in ourselves and go, why are we writing songs? Me personally, I like writing songs because I just like the thrill of having a seed of a little song and working and working and working and developing that into a finished piece of music or a finished lyric or a finished song entire. It's it's what I live for. I enjoy that process. So I think we all have to decide if you're a lyric writer and you don't write music and you want to have AI create the music for you. We'll get into more about copyright because that's a sticky point too. AI cannot own a copyright. So, there's a lot of legal ramifications right now. But Joe is making ABBA jokes in there. Thomas from England. Cool. Good to see you. Robert Simmons is here. Paul's here. Joe's here. All right. All you guys. So what spurred this talk, and I want you guys, if you can type in the chat, if you're using AI, type in there how you're using it. I'm curious to see the different uses. I've talked with all the publishers at SongTown for Pop Edge, Country Edge, Sync. Well, I've talked to all our publishers. I kind of have a good sense of where they are with AI, and we'll talk about that as far as can you pitch AI songs to publishers, and we'll get into all that. I also have Michael August, one of our Edge publishers, is going to join me in a few minutes, and he can join in and take your questions as well. But what started this whole talk in my head a few weeks ago, I got an email from a lyricist who put their lyric into Suno, and it came up with a melody and a track, a demo of the song. And they said, well, I prompted it over and over until I got the music, and that I thought the music was really good. And so I asked them a question. I said, you're a lyricist, right? Why not have AI write your lyrics for you too? Why stop with the music? And they were like, oh, well, these lyrics meant something to me, and plus I don't think AI lyrics are quite as good yet. And I'm like, okay, you hit on two important points. The lyrics meant something to you and you wanted to verbalize that. Well, I'm the same way with music and lyrics. When I hear great music coming out in a writing session and it just makes me emotional. I love music. I would not want to silence my own musical voice and turn that over to AI, which is going to AI will come up with music that sounds good. But you got to understand that as songwriters, we're searching for that magic beyond the perfection. We're not searching for, oh, here's my lyric and that music sounds pretty good. We're searching for something that's magical, something that hasn't been done yet, something that is going to excite a publisher, is going to excite a producer, a record company, an artist. And I've had those songs where artists were fighting over, and they weren't songs that sounded average. They were different. They had something special to them. So that's what I want to say, is that we have to decide what it is we want to do. If you're a lyricist and you just want to hear your songs back for fun, that's awesome. AI can do that in a few seconds. If you're trying to pitch something for an artist, then it's a whole different conversation, because why would you settle for average on one side of the equation? I personally want to search for the magic for the entire song. So I'm going to bring up Michael August. He's in our waiting room. Mr. Mike.
Hey.
I just gave them a long lot to think about with AI. And so this has been coming up a lot. And I know even in our Edge groups that some people have pitched songs that they wrote lyrics to, and Suno came up with the melody and the demo. And so I just wanted to address this and ask you some questions. Do you, I mean, what do you have writers on your staff? I personally, I've not been in writing sessions where people are on their computer trying to get AI to write the song. I mean, we're pro writers. That's our job. That's what we do. But have you had writers like asking you to pitch something that AI wrote or like?
Okay, so this is, man, I'm so glad we're doing this tonight too, because I've had so many conversations about AI just today. Like literally between, and mainly the conversations are more so in the demo world of
Yeah.
what AI is doing to the demo, which I'm totally cool with. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But to answer your question,
Well, I mean, yeah, Michael, as far as AI doing a demo, if it's doing a music track, let's say, that's no different than hiring players to go in and do a demo of your song. To me, it's now as a competitor, I want the best players and I want the best demo. I don't know if I'm going to turn that over to Suno to do for me, but I don't see that as being part of the songwriting process. That's more the production process.
totally agree. Totally agree. Like, and it's pretty wild to me how it's evolving like we thought it would. It's evolving very quickly. So like the
Hmm.
demos are sounding like I got pitched a song just the other day that I had, and like, not that I'm saying that I have the best ears in the world, but I think I have really good ears. And I didn't know, I could tell that it was an AI singer just because I'm used to the way that sounds, but I had no clue that the whole demo was an AI demo. And apparently the writer had who's a pro writer with hits, had put the work tape into Suno
Right.
and had, manipulated it such that it came out to be a really good sounding, like almost Kane Brown pitch in a way.
Hmm.
And I was blown away when I found out it was actually the whole demo was AI. So
Right.
I think, as a tool, it's getting better and we can use it as a tool. But to answer your question regarding the writing of it, definitely not. Like, not like it would be. I would not accept something that was, a lyric. If someone threw in a lyric and AI did the melody and the track, I still wouldn't consider that like a viable song that we would pitch, because to me it's still that, like we learned at the SongTown retreat this past year, it's still even legally a total gray area to have AI completely do whether it's lyric or melody, right? You got
Right.
to you got to make sure you're what we learned from that day, specifically from Washington, was that you have to manipulate it such that you might get the lyric and melody from AI as a tool, and then you've got to rework it, put your human stamp on it.
It
To
has to be primarily human. Now, people can lie about this.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, I could ask, Chat GPT to write a lyric for me and give it to a co-writer and say I wrote it. The problem with that is, even if it came up with something magical, which I have yet to hear anything different, groundbreaking, like everything I've heard so far from AI has been okay. This sounds good. It's raised the bar of average. Now anyone can put in a prompt and sound good, and that's where average is. The music business doesn't live on average. Artists are looking for this next great, cool, cutting edge thing that they can put out. Sure, it has to fit the genre, but believe me, in the writing rooms, they're really trying to come up with the next thing. And so AI doesn't do that for me. I'll just tell you, I had the opportunity to write a song with 15 CEOs, mostly from AI companies.
Wow.
So we're writing a song because they wanted to get the experience of writing a song, and we're writing, and people are throwing out lines, and it took me about 5 minutes to figure out they're using AI on their phones to come up with lines.
Wow.
And they were just cheesy, like, and so just to prove a point, I threw out a line that worked like on 3 different levels. It came from an angle that nobody in the room had ever even thought of, and they're all like, "Wow, how did you think of this?" And it's like, I'm a songwriter. You know, that's what we're doing. We're searching for that magic spot where everything comes together and it's eureka. And they knew in that moment, it's like, okay, we've got to go back and design AI to be much better, because I don't know if we can ever do that. Like, and that's what I'm saying is, if you're relying on AI to be your voice, to write, you might lie and tell somebody I did this, but you're going to rob yourself of that joy. And if you go to Michael and you play him a great song, and then he hooks you up with one of his writers to write, and they get in the room with you and you can't duplicate what you did before, you're not going to get asked back into that room. So I think we have to think, do you want to just have a song that you can play for friends and family? That's great. Are you trying to do this seriously? You kind of have to decide, I believe.
Yeah. You stole the words out of my mouth too, regarding, can you do it in person? Like, because what happens when you get in the room? I love that point. It's really true. And my thought is, too, regarding, like, I still think that, like, and we've talked about this now every time that we talk about AI, that my belief in it so far is that you gotta, if you're going to use it at all, it's got to be a tool, and it's got to be used for, whatever the process is, whether you're using it for, an AI singer on a demo, or you're using it to create a demo, or you're using it for song start ideas. I mean, it's unreal, like, what's on Splice these days. Like, I was just on Splice
Right.
this morning, and I mean, there's like full song starts that are actually like produced songs that you literally could just throw in and write a lyric over and a melody, and it's going to sound like a hit.
And AI did the song start.
Literally. It's like, I mean, and you heard the story about, oh my gosh, which one was it? Espresso, right? That was a splice loop, or 2 splice loops, maybe, I think it was. But yeah, so it's crazy what you can do by using it as a tool to, like you said, if mediocre has raised the bar to what that mediocre is, then we've also raised the bar to what excellent is. So, using it as a tool to achieve excellence is I think the best way to use it at this point. But yeah, you can't be using it for 100% the melody or 100% the lyric.
Yeah, and to get back to your point, some people were saying in the chat with Suno that you can't put in your own melody. Yeah, I've heard demos where people put in work tapes, and Suno came back. It changed the melody a little bit, but it was pretty close. But I think the area that we're okay with, if, for instance, say you had a song and you wanted a female vocal on it to go with your voice so that it was a duet. So there are sites where you can upload your voice and it will match any sound of another singer to your voice, and then you can download it. So you could literally upload your voice and create a female version of that, and it would still be your melody with all your phrasing. That to me is one way, because in essence it's like you're hiring kind of like a demo singer. It's still your melody. It's still your work, And I'm not saying that, I mean, for me, like, I heard a demo the other day that had an AI singer. It just sounded very stiff and very plain. Like it didn't have, I mean, I want to have a great singer. I'll share one story with you. Guys, we're about to do another Write with Recording Artists program where we bring in 3 artists, and each week you submit a song start to them, a chorus. Well, the last one we did, there was a female writer in the class who submitted an AI demo. The artist did not go for it, and then she was bouncing back and forth with me going, should I be doing that? And I'm like, she sent me the work tape and she sent me the demo and that Suno did. And I said, I like your simple guitar vocal because it had a magical vibe to it. So the next week she submitted herself doing a guitar vocal and she was chosen runner up that week for the song starts. So the point of all of this is when you're out there going, oh, I can't afford to do a demo. How am I going to compete with other people? If you do a guitar vocal and it has a vibe and a cool sound and it's a good song, that's going to go further than some slicked up demo of that Suno comes up with. You know,
Yeah.
we're looking for that realness, that magic, and that can be in the form of, you don't have to be a great singer, you don't have to be a great musician to create that.
I love that point, Clay, because it's so true. Like and I feel like some of these demos too, like, it's almost like the double-edged sword of getting something demoed is like, and whether it's using Suno or just doing a demo like full out, is that like, if that demo's not nailed, then it almost can detract from the pitch.
Yes.
It can take a really cool song and actually make it less cool. And I've seen that a bunch of times. Like when you get your demo back and you're just like, that's the worst feeling in the world, right? When you get your demo back and you're like, oh man, I can't even pitch this. Like, and that happens. Yeah. And so I would say the same thing with AI. Like if Suno's spitting out something if it's spitting out something that's awesome, that's one thing. But like the majority of the time, I don't think it's doing that yet. And if it spits out something that's not like of the caliber of like, a Simon Reed demo. I love Simon's stuff. Obviously he's a SongTown guy. And he's a real producer. And you're going to have a hard time matching that. So that's the hard part, is like, you're going to be up against, when you're in the pile, you're pitching something from Suno that might not be selling the song 100%, as maybe like Clay said, your acoustic vocal, if you've got a cool sound, or even the fact that like it could come across a little differently. Like there's something interesting, like on TikTok and Instagram, when folks are posting videos of themselves, they're not polished. And those things can go viral because people feel like they're authentic and real. And I feel like that can come across in a pitch situation too, where it's like,
right.
You feel a little bit more authenticity. You feel a little bit more like connected to the writer in that sense, and might feel the song a little differently. So I know, but it's interesting. Like you said about the duet thought and, your demo singers ideas. Cause I've had now at this point, there's been times when I will do an AI singer, or our writers will do an AI singer, and it will be awesome. Like nailed it, perfect AI voice, doesn't sound AI, because some of them, they're all not created equal, by the way. So some of them sound a lot better. Some of them are better at capturing actually the emotional input you put in.
Yeah, and we're talking about sites where you upload your vocal track and they imprint your vocal track. So if you're not a great singer to begin with and your pitch is all over the place, it's not going to spit back a great vocal.
Yeah.
If you sing with very little emotion. It's not going to just instantly put the emotion in there for you. Someone brought up the Randy Travis record where they used that technology. They had a great singer singing all those guide vocals, and the style of Randy Travis, it wasn't just a computer doing it. They had to have that human feel and the human emotion, and then they put Randy's vocal sound on top of that real human vocal. So, yeah, it's very much dependent on what you put into it. I did poll all of our Edge publishers. Let's start with Sync. I know you do some Sync stuff too, but so Rashad, who runs our Sync Edge group, he's okay with vocals that are AI. Devin DeBreeze, who did a workshop for us last night, he's going to be doing a monthly SongTown workshop for our Edge members as well. He is like a hard no. Like, he doesn't feel he can pitch something that's AI. And here's the reason. The music supervisors for movies, for big ads, for television shows, they want to feel like they're discovering fresh music that they don't want to feel like they're discovering an AI song. Like, it's not there yet. And then the other part of it is AI can't own a copyright. So what do you do with the master? Who owns it? Does Suno decide later they want to sue now that it's a big hit song or it's in a big ad? There's just a lot of copyright issues going on. So for our Sync Edge group, Rashad's okay with the demo vocal being, AI. He's not going to go for tracks yet, just because in that world, your demo is often the master, and there's a quick turnaround time. So you can't submit a demo to a TV show and they go, "We love this, we want to put it in right away," and you're like, "Oh, hold up, I got to go record a non-AI demo or master version of this," and like, you don't have time for all that. So in that world, at this point, no, AI, the bare max that you should be thinking about is maybe an AI vocal of your melody. Don't let AI create a melody for you. I'm talking about a site where you upload your voice and it spits back that same track with a different sound on it.
I totally agree. I think there, and like you said, it's a gray area still, but I agree with you as far as like, there are some sites that you'll be able to have license free, essentially use someone else, a demo singer's voice, which technically you're supposed to be able to use for commercial release and sync. Now that said, it's still gray. I don't know. I mean, I could absolutely imagine you landing, like, for example, like a big advertisement, and all of a sudden the demo singer whose voice that is coming after you, like, because maybe it's not as protected as we think. So, but that being said, it really depends. Like, I'm for sure, like, with Rashad on that fact about, I could pitch an AI voice, but not to everything, because it'll just, in the brief, it'll say if they're really looking for an artist, then we're not going to pitch an AI voice, because we want a presence. We want the online presence there, a real, because you're right, Clay. It's like, these supervisors are just fans of music. They want to discover the next thing. They want to help break an artist. They want to believe that they were a part of a process that helped an artist out. So they're not going to want to do, if it's an AI thing. However, if the brief is just kind of like, hey, we need this thing, just send us your closest references that, if they're going to reference maybe like a Bruno Mars thing or something, and, say they want the closest thing to it, and say nothing about needing an artist's presence or the song being released or any of that stuff that we get in the brief, then I'd pitch it to that if it nails it.
Yeah. And you're right. There are a lot of briefs today that will specifically say no AI.
Right.
So, but you're right. A lot of times, if they're looking for a song, they're not just looking for the song, they're looking for the artist that maybe they can include in the branding of the product or whatever. So it's a lot more complicated. AI, is not for everything in the sync world. And right now, I would say that you're better off not just be honest. No matter what you do, if you're pitching a song in our edge groups or if you're pitching a song to a music supervisor, you got to be honest with them, because if they found out later that it's AI and the client doesn't want AI, or it embarrasses them, you'll never get asked to submit anything again. So you've got to be honest and upfront.
That's a great point. Absolutely, because those relationships are precious. Your supervisor, if you're into sync and you're really shooting for that path, your supervisor relationships are precious. If they decide to come to you for something, and you deliver something that's, like Clay said, not 100% up front, they're not going to come back. That bridge will burn quick because there's so many other people they can go to.
Yeah. Moving on to our Pop Edge publisher, Nick. He's okay with AI pitching for demos. For instance, if an AI came up with a music bed and it's a demo that later can be recut, he's okay with that.
Nice.
He's not a fan of AI writing the song for you. I think that because we're songwriters. We write songs, We have to decide, do we want to be prompters or do we want to be songwriters? And even if your goal is, I just want to be able to prompt and get something cool back, the more you know about the craft of songwriting, the more you can tell if what you're getting back is truly great or if it's just okay. If you have a lyric and you need to have all these inner rhymes to make it musically sound good, and it needs to work on a couple of different levels meaning wise, so the double entendres and all these different layers, that's going to be hard to prompt, And if you put in your lyric to Suno, is Suno to the point where it looks at your subject matter and create this unbelievable magic music that is the perfect marriage to that lyric that you came up with? How advanced is it on that side? It will probably get much better. But for right now, yeah. So for pop, Nick saw it also because not every writer is writing up to par yet. He thought it was a cool way for writers to even learn by using AI and help them raise their level. And maybe I can see that. I've done a few things where I've asked ChatGPT, this is a long sentence. How would you clean this up and make it better? And then it'll do something, and I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it clicked. And next time I'm writing the sentence, I know how to do that now. I've seen that. So I think if you use something as a learning tool, then there's a big benefit to that. Just promise me, guys, that you don't let it take your voice away. There's nothing more important than expressing your feelings with words and with music, and just don't give that power away to a machine to do that for you. I mean, it will just suck the joy out of your songwriting.
So true. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredibly true. Plus, then it wouldn't be. I feel like that's the one thing we have is that there is nobody else on this planet that is us. So there's
Right.
nobody that can say or have gone through feelings and emotions the same way as you have. So if you can learn to articulate that in song in a special way, there's no AI that can do that.
Yeah,
Um,
there's only one me, there's only one you, but there are a million personal computers out there that all do the same exact thing.
Man, here's an interesting one. So I'm in a text thread, right? Like literally now. Um, I'll leave the writers nameless, but just so you know, they're both pro writers, both hit songwriters,
Okay.
number ones. And I'm in a text thread because the one writer is in between deals, and he's using one of the sites. I don't even know which one it is yet, but one of the sites he's using, he's doing the work tape thing where he's submitting his work tape. And he literally said, like, right now I don't have a budget, can't pay for demos. I'm in between deals. My publishers, I have a publisher paying for demos. So he's balling on a budget right now, and he's literally using his work tape, creating a demo out of it. So it's like, if you don't have the budget, that's a
Yeah.
nice way to use it, That's
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Or you can look for a co-writer that can do a great work tape that, or you can write. There's all kinds of options, and there's no right or wrong. I think we just all have to kind of decide for ourselves what kind of writer we want to be, what we're trying to accomplish. If your goal is to just write a hit and make some money, then maybe AI, I don't know. It's yet to be seen. Somebody's going to have a total AI song that's a hit eventually. But, I think you just have to decide why you're in it. Do you love writing songs? Do you like looking at a blank piece of paper and coming up with words? Do you like playing around on your guitar until you hit a melody that you've never heard before that gets you excited? I think that has to be the driving force more than being in it for money or that type of thing. Because usually when we're in something for money, we don't last that long anyway.
Right. It's exactly true, man.
We wouldn't be in the music business if we were in it for the money, would we?
I was just going to say that. That's great. Man.
All right. So let me take some questions. If you guys have questions. Don says, it sounds like this. What are you saying, Don? Sounds like the simple answer is do not use AI. I'm not saying that. Like I've always said, I've always been on the cutting edge of technology from the very first drum machine that came out to, I've always been there. So I think there's cool ways to use AI. Even heck, I've got a studio behind me where I've used every audio plug-in known to man, and many of them use AI technology. They haven't always called it AI, but today they would call it AI. So I'm all about using things as tools, as long as you just don't give up your songwriting. You don't hand your songwriting over to a machine to do it for you. That's the only danger I see in it. Because if Michael's going to sign you as a writer and hook you up with his other writers, he's got to know that you could sit down in a room by yourself and come out with something that's great, or you can sit down in a room with other writers and come out with something that's great. So, whether you use it or don't, I don't have any issue with it. And like I said, our publishers, for the most part, if you have an AI vocal, that's cool as of now. I just keep referring back to the story I told earlier about the songwriter that one week she turned in an AI demo and it was crickets, and the next week she sang her own version with a guitar and the artist loved it. So, there's that as well.
Yeah, and I would say the same. I mean, we just want to make the distinction that, or at least to answer the question too, is like, make sure that the melody and the lyric is not written solely by AI. Would you agree, Clay?
Yeah.
That's the main thing we're getting at right here. You got to
Yeah.
do it yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, you could get, if you're writing a lyric and you're stuck in the second verse and you ask AI to come up with 50 second verses and you find one line that spurs on the rest of your verse, then, I can kind of see that. I'm just stubborn. I want to come up with the line myself. I want
Yes.
to express my own feelings. I don't want to be have a machine do it for me, but that's me. Everyone has to decide for themselves, what they can live with and can't live with.
Totally agree here.
If you take Ron's saying if you take AI and adapt it using the generated audio as a vibe or direction, if the track gives you a vibe, I think you're all right. If you rewrite the lyrics and melody a fair amount, I think it has to be predominantly you
Yep.
to copyright it. But it still goes back to what I was saying originally. I haven't heard AI spit out anything that blows my mind and says, oh my gosh, this is like incredible. It sounds good. It sounds like it took some tracks from the 80s and 90s and mashed them together, like you said in the prompt, and came out with this perfect sounding thing. There's no mistakes. Sonically, the vocal always sounds phased out to me, so
Yeah.
my engineering ears don't like it. But you just got to decide for yourself how you want to do it, and I'm sure there's going to be people that can prompt and prompt and prompt and eventually come out with something pretty dang cool. So it's just not the process I want to take. I want to write it myself. I'm just built like that. I'm a songwriter.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, I think what the feelings on that, Ron, I would say for me, I understand where you're coming from. And it seems like you're using it as a tool in that case, predominantly, other than using it to write your song.
Yeah, Tom said it'd be interesting listening to this recording in a year. AI is moving at lightning speed. I've been a tech my whole career and can't begin to imagine what AI. Yeah, no, I agree. And that's part of the reason I wanted to do it, is to create a little time capsule.
Nice.
So in 10 years, we can look back and see what we said that was smart and what we were saying that's just the whole world has changed. Because who knows what the world's going to be like in 10 years. And that doesn't, new tech does not scare me at all. I use new tech daily, so it's fine. But I just know for me personally, I like to write.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, we're going to find out, Tom, because it will change. Not just music, the whole world's going to be different in 10 years. It's just, we're moving at a fast rate. Before joining SongTown, Thomas says 80% of my songs were lyrics and melody, but since I'm aiming for 100% my own, except for throwaways. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And I have heard some AI demos where the melody was the writer who played it for me, and there was some good stuff. Like, it's, as a tool, I think it can work. But right now, I just think you don't have a lot of control over it yet. The more control we get over those tools, I think the more we'll be able to make it our own. But just prompting at this point, I can't. I mean, I'm a fanatic. I want to try a lyric line to a melody, and I want to sing it this way that has 3 inner rhymes, and this way that has 4, or maybe this way that doesn't have any. And I want to see which is the best to my ear, and then I want to build on that. Like, I'm a control freak. I want to get in there and make every little detail as good as it can be. I don't have that control with AI yet.
Great point.
There are always people looking for a quick buck and cheat, thinking this is the way. Yeah, I mean, name anything in life. You can go on social media right now and somebody will show you how to write a hit song in 7 days. That's the latest one I'm seeing. Guys, take this course online. You'll be making six figures a year after my 7 day course that will teach you to write a hit. Like, I mean, there's so many people looking for the easy way that a lot of people will buy these courses. So it's, it's the easy button doesn't usually work. I can tell you that.
No way. No way. It's crazy.
Yeah, we talked about this. What are your thoughts on taking the work tape and using Suno to create the demo? Yeah, demos seem to be all right, but is Suno spitting back a different melody? Because I think melody and lyrics are the elements you can copyright. I don't think I know. And so you've got to make sure that those elements are yours right now as far as copyrights go to be able. But yeah, if you're creating a demo or a work tape, then yeah. But it goes back to saying, is Suno going to give you the magic? Because in that scenario I told you before, a guitar vocal demo had so much magic to it, and Suno just killed it. Made it no good. So you just have to kind of decide. I would rather hear often a songwriter's rough demo that they did, in an iPhone over some fancy tricked out production that just sounds like an average production.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I think to this day now, I don't have much to compare it to yet, but maybe, I don't know, 20 to 50 songs I've heard so far that have been AI demo created. I've heard one that sounded great, and that's the one that I was speaking about earlier, that I thought was like, oh wow, okay, I could see that being a thing. But how much manipulation did that take? How many times did you have to run it through to get that? Can you get better at prompting, when you're looking for a demo? So those are all questions that I think will probably evolve as this thing goes. But yeah, so you got to really use and by the way, you need to use your ears. You got to train. And like Clay is saying, in this whole time, like, not only do you need to honestly, like, work on your craft writing wise, but, listening, you got to know when that demo sounds great, interesting, fresh and new, or if it just sounds like, another mediocre demo that's not even sonically comparable to like what we would get with the producer,
Or if it's a lyric that gets to the hook at the end of the chorus and has no payoff, and you think it sounds good, okay, it sounds good, but it's not going to motivate an artist because you don't know enough yet about songwriting to know that setup line needs to be better. Like that, there's just so many little parts to writing a great song that you can learn, that I just feel like even if you're prompting, if you don't know how good the end result needs to be, you're not going to get it through prompting unless you just happen to luck out. And that's possible too. But I think, how can you tell a machine what to do if you don't know how to do it yourself? So I always say, learn your craft no matter what. Because even if AI gets to a point where you can really hone in with the prompts and tweak, no, the second line needs to be more like this, make the third syllable rhyme. And even if you get to that point, you've got to know the craft of songwriting to be able to tell it what to do. So
do that. Great point.
Yeah. Can you see the chat, Michael?
Oh no, I don't see the chat. I see the questions popping up at the bottom of our screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I got comments now. Okay, Scott Mack was the last comment, right?
Surely AI will be throwing out the same lines, melody productions to multiple people. Yeah, or if not just the same exact lines, which I'm sure I had an experience where that happened to me, where I was testing something out and it spit out the lyric to a real song. So
Oh wow.
there's that. I even asked ChatGPT what Bob Dylan songs did Clay Mills write, and it listed 3 Bob Dylan songs. And I said, I'm Clay Mills. I did not write those songs. Did you just make that up? And ChatGPT said yes.
Wow. That's crazy. Dude, that's nuts. I mean, and to Scott's question too, it's kind of interesting because we talked about this too at the SongTown retreat. It's like the things that it's when it's generating songs or generating demos, it's pulling from everything that's out there. Everything
Yeah.
that I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands or millions of songs it's pulling from, but yeah, it's going to be it could literally spit out the same thing to 2 different people, whether it be a verse melody, a chorus melody, just bits and pieces of. And the other thing that's interesting to me is like is it going to spit something out that's on top of something else that gets too close, because it is pulling from something else. So
Right. Are you gonna get sued when your song is out by the person that it borrowed from when it gave you your melody? Like it's really complicated. Do publishers still accept cassette tapes?
that's great.
That's I have not seen a cassette tape in years, RC. I know you're just joking.
Yeah.
The same idea thing happens all the time without AI. It's just in the air. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's true. I've written a song title that my publisher thought was so unique one day, and he called another publisher, and that publisher said, "Oh, today our writers wrote the same title. Like, what are the odds?" So that can happen. Ideas are out there floating around, but yeah.
I believe that too, by the way. That's a great you ever read that book Big Magic?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm Bob Dylan and Clay Mills. I want to get my royalties.
Shane says, you even hear the same melodies on Songtown and the radio right now. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you hear a melody on radio that sounds close to other songs, yeah. But there are a lot of songs that sound completely different. Like, I've listened a lot to, I keep up with the top 10 songs in the different genres. The last couple of years, there's been a lot of different things. Like, it's not all one style in a genre anymore. Like, there's a lot of great stuff out there. And so I think music went through a period where it kind of started sounding the same. But I've heard a lot of cool stuff over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and like I was looking at Kendall's last comment too about Dua Lipa's training season, and I do think I know what you're saying in that I think there are for sure situations where, for example, like big pop writer like Ryan Tedder is actually known for and has talked about the idea of being inspired by something else, maybe at some times mashing 2 to 3 songs of inspiration and creating something new using that as inspiration. And sometimes I think he's admittedly gotten too close and credited the original writers of the song he was kind of using as inspiration. So it does happen, but as long as you're, as long as you're aware of it, and as long as you're willing to give credit where credit's due. But I think that's where you'll sometimes hear melodies that feel like carbon copies sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have any idea where you got inspired, right? And you
Yeah.
just sing a melody and you don't realize you just copped the melody that was on the last thing that you listened to.
Yeah. And we write a lot of songs over our careers and our lifetime. And some of those songs are going to be close to something that we heard 30 years ago when we were growing up. Some songs are going to be really fresh and different. Every day is a different day. That to me is what makes it really fun. And Kendall says, partially why so many writers get credit on pop songs. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. Sometimes they go and take a melody from a record, in the past, and so they credit those writers. And everybody's fine with that because they're reinterpreting it. They're adding new elements. The original writers get paid. But then a lot of times it's like, okay, the producer, the engineer, whoever wasn't really on the song, but they're getting a piece business-wise of the song. So there's part of that going on. And then, I mean, most of the time you don't have 12 writers actually in the writing room writing a song. So there's other factors at play there.
I mean, it gets like I was witness to a few of them in our catalog specifically. Like we had an Iggy Azalea single that got passed around a bunch.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those situations where,
just collecting more writers.
Someone wrote a rap, then someone else wrote a rap. Then a producer had an idea, and before you know it, there were 10 writers on the song, and we had to negotiate splits and all that, which is never fun. But it can happen in many different ways.
And Shane, we did mention, or Sunday, we did mention about the Country Edge group. Vocals are cool. If it's an AI track, I don't know. I mean, that's probably up to the individual publisher. But if you're using AI as a demo, in my opinion, and you wrote the melody note for note, you wrote the lyric, I don't think you have a problem with that.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. And I don't know, some people feel like, oh, if this person's using AI and that gives them an advantage. I don't see that because honestly, I don't think AI is giving, I haven't yet to hear something with AI that goes, I can't write that. Like, it has no advantage over me, and I'm not saying it won't, but don't feel like AI, like I said before, it's raised the bar of average the average is now better than it used to be, but it's not giving you an advantage yet to be an advantage over a good writer. So if someone else is using AI to do a demo vocal, I wouldn't sweat it. Like, do your own thing, write your own songs. It's not going to affect you. It really won't affect you.
And you know what? You just made me think, Clay, too. It's actually great. It could be great practice, great exercise in that, say you write a song that's acoustic, you do it old school in the room, no track guy, just a guitar, vocal, work tape, maybe you plug it in, get a demo out, see how that happens. And then pretend, if you're by yourself, pretend like you're in the room with the track guy, but use Suno as the track guy, and then practice writing over tracks. Because that's a whole different, flow in a room that happens all the time now too. So if you hadn't had that experience of writing with the track guy, you can use that for exercise too. So there's so many ways to use it as a tool. I keep getting back to that, I think.
I wonder if this is true. I have not sussed this out. AI can't do post choruses nor rhymes with lines.
Oh, wow.
Do you mean with rhymes with I'm not sure
line.
what you mean, Jonathan, but yeah, I mean, whatever limits it has right now, I'm sure they will overcome that in the future. It will get better. But I always just go back to AI can get as good as it wants. We're not looking to write good songs. We're not looking to write perfect songs. AI will be able to spit out the perfect song every time. We're not looking for perfect. We're looking for the magic beyond perfect. And perfect is often the enemy of magic. So don't be intimidated by AI. If you want to try it, use it as a tool, as a demo, or if you're use it to bounce ideas off, but just don't let it write for you. Develop your own skills, your own voice. Ron says, I believe Suno lets you create instrumental only. Yes, you can create instrumental only songs, and then you could sing and write on top of that, like download the track, and I'm sure there'll be a lawsuit about that down the road.
Yep.
But I've done, like, for instance, I've taken a demo of one of my songs where I hired a band, went in, cut the demo. The song never did anything, but I really liked the track. So I went back and rewrote a completely different song over that track. So in a sense, it's kind of the same thing. I didn't play the track, session players did. So yeah, I can see that.
Prefer to find producers on YouTube making type beats to write to. Nice.
Yeah. And then the one last thing I want to talk about before we split is the human story. So how many times do you see articles about artists, singers and artists and songwriters, where they talk about how they came up with the song? This Ed Sheeran lost his best friend and lost his grandmother, and he had to write this song to express those feelings. That's what people are interested in. I do songwriter rounds all over the country where I'm playing, hits I've written for other people, and the whole thing the audience loves is they get to hear our stories about how we came up with those song ideas and what happened in the writing room with the artist. And so there's always that human story. You watch a Super Bowl, they're not talking about, well, this guy passed for 30 yards last time and he did that. They talk a little bit about that, but most of the coverage is like, these two coaches used to be best friends.
Yeah.
Now they're like, are these two brothers that are playing each other in the Super Bowl? And, who's the mom going to root for? People like human stories. They like human realness. So if you got an artist and he's up there, he's like, yeah, I just kind of wanted a love song, so I prompted my Mac Mini computer. It was decked out with this fancy keyboard that I got on Amazon, and I kept working and I kept prompting, and then finally it spit out a song. It said, that sounds like a hit. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, it's people crave real,
Yes, absolutely, man. That's hilarious. That's so funny though, and true. There's no way that I can't imagine that being that's not going to be a story. Like you said, they'll probably, we're going to watch a couple years from now. They'll probably be an AI hit. I'm actually curious of the genre that I want to look back on and say, hey, what genre was it? If I was to make a bet right now, it'd be EDM, maybe dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the first, but I don't know. We'll see.
At first, I thought Rick was making a joke, but this is actually pretty profound. It says the computer doesn't know it's going to die. Humans do. Yeah, I mean, there's something about that pressure of knowing that we are finite beings, how that affects our creativity. And when we wake up today, we don't have this data waste. We don't, it drives us to try to do something people will remember us by, if that's your thing. Everybody's got different motivations. But yeah, the Mac Mini's not waking up this morning going, oh, I've got to leave my mark on the world, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Songwriter round song setup. So I was on Chat GPT and I entered the prompt.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay, y'all. If you have more questions, email me. I hope we got to discuss some things that you've been thinking about. But if we didn't cover something, just email me, clay@songtown.com, and I will get back to you. And keep writing.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks
Thanks,
for having me,
Michael.
Clay.
Yep.